Some of your fellow audio engineers have some questions for you. This is Ned Nedward. He's an audio engineer.
You ruined episode 9!
Manny! And this is our most influential listener, Daphne Boardman.
And episode 20. That episode had limitless possibilities.
Traumatic childhood.
You needed those. You really did.
Which is true. Means that for us all.
Up yours, children.
Why does your mind look like that?
And we never did.
Welcome to No Kids 3 Money, a Simpsons podcast through the lens of time. It's your new favourite podcast about your old favourite show. I'm one half of your host, Ned.
And I'm
Hermes? And our trusty producer behind the camera.
Hey, that's what I was going to say.
Alrighty. What do we got in store for the people this week, Matt? That's Keegan, by the way.
Hello.
we have Ned's birthday. Come on
Yay.
down.
You calling me a biter?
Didn't actually come here to celebrate Ned's birthday.
And we never did.
We have season 2, episode 13, season 11, episode 3, and season 21, episode 5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Always confuses me. So many
Double
fucking
checked.
numbers.
Yeah, it is confusing. I guess we just, what is it, episode 26 in total?
What? Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Is it? Yes, it is. Fuck.
Yeah.
This is so hard now.
Yeah.
He's old, folks.
I am. The dementia's setting in. What's a Simpsons?
No, it doesn't.
Who are you? Get out of my house.
Well, yeah. Oh, that's the funny thing. Someone knocked on the door like at maybe 10:15, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, Keegs is here." Open the door. Jehovah's Witnesses. Great.
They still exist?
Yeah.
Somehow. Yeah. First time I've seen them in so long.
Still a thing, apparently. On a Saturday.
They were like, "Hello, you don't know us," but I'm like, "I'm aware." This is my daughter, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. I didn't sign up for this.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's getting very abstract, but yes, I will have sex with your daughter.
I don't recall calling you, but come on in.
18, you're first. I like where this is going.
I find the most erotic part of Jehovah is the boobies.
Perfect.
I understand you have a special motivation going into this bout.
Yeah, I want to dedicate this fight to my manager, Vinny, who got me here, and then passed away just 2 weeks ago.
Any response to that?
Yes, I would also like to dedicate this fight to the memory of his deceased manager.
You can't do that.
I can do whatever I want.
You dedicate the fight to your own manager.
Alrighty. Season 2, episode 13.
Yes.
Yes.
It is titled Homer versus Lisa and the Eighth Commandment. Synopsis reads, Homer gets an illegal cable hookup. Despite their enjoyment of the new channels, Lisa becomes suspicious that they are stealing cable. Her suspicions are confirmed by Reverend Lovejoy, and Lisa protests by no longer watching television. Meanwhile, Homer invites his friends over to watch a boxing match, but Lisa's protest gets to him. He decides not to watch the fight and cuts the cable after the match.
You said the 8th, right?
Yeah, Homer versus Lisa and the Eighth Commandment.
I swear it says 13th.
There's only 10 commandments.
It does say 8th.
The Jehovah's told me this morning.
What the fuck? Where did I get 13th from?
Probably the 13th episode.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Fuck, I'm
he
old.
doesn't have that job. Once
I
again.
can't even read anymore.
Dementia's really taking its hold
Oh, Jesus.
early on you, bro.
Overnight.
One of the first notes that I wrote down is just a quote, but I thought it was quite good. So it goes sort of back in time to before the commandment, before the commandments were written. And Homer is the thief, and he goes up to like a dude that he's talking to. I can't remember who that guy was, like a shopkeep of some kind. And he's like trying to steal one of the gold statues from him. And then after he does that, another dude rocks up. He's like, good evening, Zorath the adulterer.
Yes.
My wife sends her regards.
So it's blatantly Jacques.
Yeah, true.
Has way more appearance. Like we said, after we saw him in that first episode, and we're like, oh yeah, this guy never comes up again, and then realized that he's in the opening credits, so he's in literally every fucking episode.
Yeah.
But he does appear like several times as just a random background character or a throwaway line or something like that. He didn't have his voice, which is what threw me off at the start, but then I looked at his face and I was like, oh, that's Jacques.
Yeah.
Obviously, because he's the adulterer.
Yeah. It is quite good. And then, he says something about like Homer's wife after that as well. Something about, I remember her.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what he says, but alludes to the fact that he's like banging his wife.
Yeah.
Then Phil Hartman as Moses comes down with the 10 Commandments and reads them in no particular order.
Yeah.
Can't remember what the first guy does. He's a salesman of some kind, so he's obviously like coveting riches to some degree, and that's like one of the commandments. Then, no adultery, then no stealing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember what the first commandment was.
It's something to do with like hoarding money, which I think is one of the commandments. I can't remember. I went to a Christian school for like 9 years. I should know that.
I did non-scripture forever.
Nah, it's not important.
I also went to a Christian high school, and I don't remember at all.
No.
God.
Hold on.
You guys didn't have leader beans?
Well, apart from, like, that was my first note, but my first note apart from that is just Flanders being a regular dude again. So we go from, like, that. It's not really a daydream, or is it? Because it sort of cuts into Homer.
Yeah.
So is Homer having that daydream, or is it just to imply that, like...
Aren't they what? Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
You're right.
So he's, like, sleeping on the hammock and the dog's drinking the lemonade.
Yeah.
And he wakes up to the sound of Flanders yelling at some cable guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Flanders still hasn't really been established as this complete, like...
Straighty 180.
Yeah, straighty 180, like, will not, like, say a bad thing or do a bad thing to anybody. Like, he's screaming in this dude's face and telling him to get the fuck off his property.
Yeah.
He hasn't been Flanderized yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
This man offered to install illegal cable for $50. Something about the gall of this guy.
Yeah, and then Homer's just, like, starts to, like, act like he's protesting with him and then just sprints off to try and catch the cable guy.
Yeah. And then he, like...
Who is also voiced by Phil Hartman.
Yes. And Homer then jumps in front of the cable guy's car and, like, sort of nearly gets run over. And there's, like, pans to a shot of Homer underneath the car, which is, like, a Alfred Hitchcock movie reference. I can't remember which movie exactly.
Oh.
Okay, then.
I'll just keep this reference.
And then when the guy's inside installing...
Stealing?
When the guy's inside installing the cable, Homer...
Apt choice of words, though, for later on.
Yeah.
But continue.
Very much so. Homer has, like, sort of second thoughts about it on the spot. He's like, so this is like frowned upon, right? And he's like, here, read this pamphlet. So you've decided to steal cable. So that's the second pamphlet gag we've seen.
Oh, yeah, it is too.
So I think the other one was...
So you're going to die.
Yeah.
The one from the Killer episode like 2 weeks ago.
That's right, yep. Yeah, one of the continuing gags that runs throughout the series.
I didn't write it down, but speaking of continuing gags, I don't know whether this is the first time we see it, but we get the continuing gag of the exterior shot of the supermarket.
Oh, yeah.
And the trolley rolling out of the car park into the street.
Yeah, true.
Which, like, I don't know if we've seen it before this.
No, it's the first time we've seen it in the way we're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My next note is that's right. Marge is sort of, after they've got the cable installed and Homer brings the family in and Marge is sort of umming and ahhing about it and he switches the channel to that, like, all-female channel.
Yeah.
We'll show you how to cut your first aid bill in half by making your own Band-Aids.
Yeah. And then they're watching, like, just straight TV for hours on end, and Bart sort of picks up on every movie that they're watching. Oh, this is the part where so-and-so does this. It's like, I don't know, points out that Bart watches a lot of TV without explaining that he watches a lot of TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems to know every reference.
Yeah.
And is like saying the movie,
before it happens.
Before it happens.
Yeah.
think it's also just like a comment
Experienced that
on,
recently.
Yeah, that was annoying.
I think it's like a comment on like how those like old cable TV services worked as well, where like it has like a handful of like unique programs and content, stuff like HBO where it like has its own programming schedule, but a lot of it is just filled in with reruns.
Yeah.
So like Bart is just essentially watching the same things over and over and over and over again.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's like they haven't had cable up until this point, so how has he watched all these?
I don't know.
They are like usually B-list movies that make it to TV.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because
kinda
that's
makes
explained
sense.
in the pamphlet when Marge is reading it as to why it's like not like unethical to steal cable, because all the movies are all like, you know, 2-star movies that end up as reruns anyway.
And funnily enough, there is a good note on someone coming up. So when we get to it, I will say it.
Okay.
My next note is Homer peeling himself off of the couch, like to go to church. So he's been up all night and he doesn't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And Marge is like, all right, time to go to church. And he's like, leaves like a groove in the lounge and shit like that.
Which I think permanently stays for like the rest of the episode.
Yeah. It's like the Carney episode when
My ass groove.
yeah, Cooter is sitting in it long enough to fuck the groove up. And that's what Homer's most upset about when they get back in their house.
Yeah, the fact that his lounge is being shifted slightly. So they go from there to church.
Yeah.
And is Lovejoy giving he's giving a sermon about stealing, isn't he?
Yeah.
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 I can't remember exactly what he's saying, but the only times we've really seen him up until now have been like those real, like, he's just been giving sermons. We haven't seen him outside of being up at the front of the church, which we do later on in this episode.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see like the two sides of his character.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Because he is one of the like rare characters that are sort of relatively well established from the start kind of thing. Like I don't know, he seems like helpful with Lisa later, but you can tell already that he sort of has that like slight disposition about what he has to do for a living.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
He's been worn down over time.
And they do obviously lean into it way more, but just with the like, his voice is slightly different, but it just has that tone to it immediately already of like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's like feigned effort.
Yeah. And they give him like some qualities that don't resonate in sort of like a churchy life, like him liking trains and stuff like that.
They're trying to say Lovejoy's autistic.
It must be. And the autistic people like trains.
Loved trains when I was a kid.
Of course you did. You'd be one of those guys on like the cross bridge, like taking photos of this rare train that comes through like once a year.
Yeah. That was me.
You love the Polar Express, didn't you?
Oh, I fucking hate that movie. I think it's terrifying.
Oh yeah, that movie's creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
Dude.
Wow.
Scariest animation of all time.
It's so uncanny. It's
Nightmare
so
fuel.
Fucking, I don't know. It's off-putting.
Too realistic.
I mustn't have watched it hard enough.
But it's not even like realistic. It's like in that weird in between where it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
It's like they're really trying to make this look like people, but it definitely is not people.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Yep. I get you.
Yeah, and it just throws like a fucking panic response into your brain of like, get away from it.
Yeah, it's like shitty AI art. Have you ever seen like shitty AI photo replicas of like people?
Yes.
Where it's like you can see it and it's like
That's not them.
that's not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that came up when I was watching a Marvel movie the other day, and it was like Tony Stark's younger self. I think it was in Civil War. Yeah. And he had these AI glasses on, looking at a past scene that happened in real life.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. This is when Bart and Lisa go to Sunday
school and learn about hell.
Was it Sunday or Saturday, though?
Sunday.
I vaguely remember.
It's generally
them-
always Sunday.
Yeah. I remember them saying Saturday, though. Anyway, whoever the teacher is, Bart did mention her name, but
Yeah, I can't remember what it is.
didn't quite care enough. She's basically reciting the 10 Commandments to them, and Bart is asking questions about what hell is like.
Is there going to be lots of pirates there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he's basically enjoying himself thoroughly. And then
Yes.
Lisa has that dream state of what the family will be like in hell, and they're all just sitting on the couch with the devil in the middle of them.
I think that's
That's come a
the
little
sort of the
later.
next scene.
Yeah.
Or they go home in the car first, and the Homer asks them what they learned about in Sunday school, and Bart's like hell. And my note is, why does his face move like that when he says hell? Yeah, he's like hell.
Yeah, his mouth stays the same, but his whole head turns.
Yeah.
Yeah. That comes up. That's a recurring gag as well.
Is it?
Yeah. I can't remember the words that Bart says.
Actually, now that you say it, I think it is like specifically like the word hell.
Maybe.
His face moves like that when he says it.
Yeah.
I think it's like when he's like emphasizing something that he's like interested in, and they use it a few times where his head does that, and it's like the mouth stays in one spot, but his head entirely like fucking shifts like 45 degrees.
Yeah.
It's like whiplash.
Yeah. It's like that can't physically happen.
He's also, I don't know, a yellow person. Like,
True. True. We won't joke about that any further.
yeah.
Imagine if I just went with that as the cold open. Just that line.
Oh no. No. Daddy, no.
Mr. Simpson, no!
My next note is when they do get back home, there's like a shot of the house inside into the like TV room, and the animals are both sitting in Homer's like groove that he's set.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And it's funny because animals do that type of shit. Like they've got a whole house to roam around in, but they'll sit on something of yours or like where you've been.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like exactly. Like if you get up, like you'll come back and like an animal will be in your spot because it's being warmed.
Yeah. True. Homer's spot looks like greasy though.
It does, you're right.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I assume they sit back down and turn the TV on, and we get our first like infomercial with Troy McClure.
So is this his first appearance?
It is.
Right. So it's the third character that he's voiced in this episode.
Yep.
Which, you know, they do tend to do a lot because he has quite a good voice. And, you know, why not make use of it?
Yep.
But yeah, I had that question, like as a question mark, is this the first time we've seen Troy McClure?
Yep. Dr. Nick was introduced in the episode we did with Aiden the other week.
A couple of weeks ago, yeah.
And that's when Lionel Hutz was introduced. So they've brought Phil Hartman on very recently,
Yes.
it seems. And they've used him as much as they possibly could just because he's got such a great voice and range.
Yeah.
So McClure was based on the typical washed-up Hollywood actor and B-movie actors. Troy Donahue and Doug McClure served as inspiration for his name and certain character aspects.
Okay. Don't know who either of those guys are.
They were both born in the 30s and died in the 90s.
Right.
Or around that time. But yeah, just B-list Hollywood actors.
Okay.
Which sort of furthers our point to Bart's movie knowledge that we just touched on.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
Yeah.
I said he sleeps with the fishes.
Trying to think of what happens exactly. Like, oh, so that's when Lisa has that like vision kind of thing and starts to get like really worried about the family. And I think the next scene is them shopping.
Yeah.
Which is, we get that supermarket gag. And then Marge is eating a couple of grapes while Jimbo's stealing something in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, Lisa catches on to all this, and it's like worsening her feeling of guilt.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she gets to the counter and forces Marge to like fess up for eating 2 grapes and tries to make her pay for them. The guy's just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And she insists. So he gets his like loudspeaker out and asks for a price check on 2 grapes. Yeah, you heard me, Phil. 2 measly stinking grapes.
Yeah. Just really belittling Marge.
Yeah.
And Lisa's still there just
Still just
smiling.
standing there smiling, just happy.
That's it. And then that's when they shoot back to home, I presume, and there's an ad for the fight.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. They're about to knock the other guy out. This time, it's for money. And they've got the classic, like the 2 gloves colliding and exploding.
And then it's like a press conference
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or it must be like a, what would supposed to be like a weigh-in kind of thing because they're both there shirtless in their fight gear.
Yep.
I don't know who the other person would be.
Watson was his name in this.
Yeah.
But I didn't look up who that fight was actually between.
I'm just trying to think of like, because obviously they were trying to like, you know, Drederick Tatum is obviously Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to think of who the other person could have potentially been. Maybe like a Joe Frazier or something like that.
That's who it was. I think we brought that up at some point last night. It was, oh no.
That was something completely unrelated.
Yes. Anyway.
Yes. Which is weird because they didn't fight in the same era or anything like that. But the point that I made during it was the other guy who's not Frederick Tatum says something about dedicating the fight to his trainer.
Yeah.
Who recently died, his manager who recently died a couple of weeks ago. And then the camera cuts to Tyson or Tatum. And he says, oh, yeah, I'd also like to dedicate this fight to that guy's trainer, which I'm pretty sure Mike Tyson did, but it was about some guy's wife. And his wife didn't die. Like the guy just said, like, I want to dedicate this fight to my wife. And then Tyson got the mic and goes, yeah, I also want to dedicate the fight to his wife. And proceeded to knock that guy the fuck out.
Yeah.
Nice.
And maybe fuck his wife.
Why not? Yeah, it reminded me of Happy Gilmore when, like, Shooter McGavin claims to be playing for Chubbs after Gilmore just says that he's dedicating that round for Chubbs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you see they're doing a sequel?
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about it.
Pretty sure that's this year.
It's going to be awful. It's going to suck.
I don't know. I'm holding out hope just because Sandler probably wouldn't do it unless he knew it would be funny.
Would he?
Yeah. He doesn't need money, so there's no reason to do it purely for money. You'd have to have a decent script because, like, Chris McDonald's coming back and everything. So
yeah.
It's got to be at least decent.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope so. Otherwise, all hope is lost.
True.
That's the teetering point for you, Ned. Happy Gilmore 2 sucks. Everything's ruined.
I just mean, like, our fucking, like, most of our childhood, like, comedic heroes are, like, gone. Jim Carrey just does fucking Sonic movies now. And if Adam Sandler can't make a fucking, like, well-worked franchise, like, at least be decent, then it's like, what? You know, what are we fucking doing here?
I feel like Adam Sandler just, like, makes movies to go on vacation.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
True.
Like, he just, like, gets a production budget, gets a bunch of his friends, like, oh, let's go to fucking Hawaii. Let's go to Africa. Make a shitty Netflix movie.
I mean, I'd do it if I was allowed to.
Oh, dude, like...
100%.
You just make some fucking garbage and go on holidays for, like, 4 months out of a year.
Please.
I fully get why he does it.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Don't need to make fucking art, bro. You need to fucking do uncut gems every single time you fucking make something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's... yeah, at this point in time, he's done enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has.
Record sort of stands for itself.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Then everything is wrapped up in a neat little package.
My next note is you haven't lost the common touch, sir, because I think we go from... Is it immediately after the fight ad that they go to, like, that scene in the showers at the plant? Yeah.
Lenny and Carl sound slightly off still.
And they're talking about how they're going to, like, listen to the live radio broadcast and then watch the still photos on the news afterwards.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I don't know. You started reaching for something and it confused me.
He's old now, remember?
So Homer says that, like, you know, we could do that or we could just go and watch the fight at my house, and Burns is watching it over the security cameras, which I didn't even realize until now is pretty fucked. He's watching them in the showers.
Yeah. Loving it.
Yeah. And then there's like a back and forth between him and Smithers where he's talking about how he wants to go and watch the fight at Homer's house. And Smithers is like, why would you do that?
No offense, but you're rich.
But you're rich. Why don't you just buy the fight yourself?
Yeah.
And he says something about wanting to, you know, just be like down in the trenches with people. You haven't lost touch with the common man, sir.
My next note is just Lovejoy tells Lisa to make a point by not watching the TV herself. So that's when we get that first shot of Lovejoy not delivering a sermon.
Yeah, it is. That's right.
He's in that listen lady room, as
his
I'll refer to it as.
office, you would say that it is.
Yeah.
My next note is Jimbo being seen stealing twice.
When was the second?
I can't remember. It's the scene after that, but I don't remember exactly where he is. Oh, he's at the Quickie Mart.
Oh, okay.
Because, yeah, we go from, like, Lisa sort of coming to the conclusion that she's just going to boycott the TV, and then Homer's going to buy a bunch of beer or snacks or something, and then invites Apu to the fight as well.
Yeah.
But immediately before he walks up to the counter, there's a shot of Jimbo on the security camera stealing something else.
That's right. Yeah. And then Apu says that the store's open 24 hours a day, so he can't make it.
Yeah.
And then Homer, I don't know, entices him more by saying something. And then he's like, oh, I'll just get my brother Sanjay to come and look at it.
He abhors violence of any kind.
Oh, right.
That's his, like, reasoning.
Okay. I got like a visual thing, like a fuck up that I saw. So it's Homer and Marge laying in bed. So must go from the Quickie Mart to essentially there.
Mm-hmm.
And like Marge is laying there, but you can see like from her shoulders up is detailed properly, but her arms are like straw. It's just like so thin. And she's just sort of laying like this.
I didn't notice that at all.
Mm.
I did notice like one point, I think it was later on in the episode, where Bart's head looks really unproportionately big to his body at some point in time.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
so once again, they're like trying to put more detail into his face than what they are the rest of his body. His body looked really fucking like baby-like. It was strange.
That is weird.
Maybe it wasn't that episode now that I think about it. I don't know. My next note is lemonade.
Crazy. I've never noticed that
Can't
in my
believe
life.
that they used that again. It's
Yeah.
so fucking good.
So
We
this-
both just stopped immediately and looked at each other.
Yeah. It's essentially the next day and Homer's watching TV and it's itchy and scratchy for whatever reason.
Yes.
And all that it says is the lemonade please line.
And then I think he switches the channel.
yeah.
And maybe like another ad for the fight or something like that. And Bar comes in, and I can't remember the back and forth that they have, but then Lisa comes in behind him and sort of says, I'm going to be protesting and not watching the fight or not watching any more TV, and you won't hear anything from me after this, and just walks off.
Yeah.
Which starts to bother Homer.
Yeah.
And then I think, yeah, wait, is it then that we get that scene where you're talking about with Marge and Homer sitting in bed and they have that little argument where he puts his foot down?
Yeah, that must have come just before it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it all sort of like moves relatively quickly there. There's just like that scene where Lisa explains that Homer and Marge have that little argument. Then it's the fight.
Yeah.
Everybody starts turning up at the house.
There's one thing just before that. It's like basically when Lisa just leaves the room for whatever reason, the cable guy is back in the house.
That's
And
right.
Homer's like, how'd you get in here? Well, your door wasn't locked in any serious way.
Yeah, I have that. No, your door wasn't locked in any serious kind of way. And then he has like a little back and forth with him. I can't remember
He's trying
exactly.
to offer him like another upgrade.
Yeah.
Like more channels or whatever.
And then he says, like, oh, I'll just go and offer it to your neighbor. He's like, he's not home. And he's like, oh, okay. Obviously going to break in and steal shit.
Gonna give my TV a flogging.
Well, yeah.
And yeah, that's when we get, I think, the way in, essentially.
No. So that's like, it just sort of cuts from there to like the montage of everybody turning up to watch the fight. So like you're getting like the intros and everybody coming down to the ring and stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, like Apu turns up and then Mr. Burns starts to turn up. Oh no, there's like a couple of different, Apu turns up. So he hides a bunch of shit that he stole from the Quickie Mart. Then Mo turns up and he hides a bunch of mugs that he stole from Mo's bar. And then Mo brings him a mug anyway.
Yeah, and he's acting like really happy that he's finally got a mug.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, in between all of this, Lisa's still inside and sort of like staring at him, and he's like yelling at her for staring at him, tells her to go outside. Then Mr. Burns turns up and he hides all the shit that he stole from work.
Yep.
He gives him that little bag of Cheetos. We get that great scene when like the door actually opens and it's like Burns is sort of like talking for a couple of seconds to like, you know, he's like greeting Homer and stuff like that and thanking him for having him, and it turns and it's just Barney standing there at the door. So he doesn't actually know what Homer looks like.
Yeah.
Then Homer pops in front of Barney.
Yeah.
So Lisa's outside by this point, and then I think it's sort of cutting back and forth between everybody inside watching the fight, and Marge has gone outside with Maggie to give Lisa some refreshments, and now they're all sitting on the lawn together.
Takes her a lemonade. As
Yes.
she labels it, but it's orange.
Yeah,
was
it is.
another weird like visual fuck up.
Who's going to get fired for that blunder?
Mm.
I can't remember exactly what happens in. Does Homer have like a vision kind of thing? Yeah.
It's like a dream state which was used again when Homer thinks he's going to get arrested for stolen cable.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what triggers it.
Yeah, I don't know either. Can't recall.
Oh, actually, no. Now that I think about it, it might have been when they're doing the introduction to like Tatum's introduction, and they talk about him being in prison, which is pretty accurate because Tyson went to prison for a couple of years.
Yeah, and then that's right. It's a good transition between the TV and then Homer being incarcerated as well.
Yeah,
yeah.
They have these nice I don't know what it is. There's like a lot of nice visual elements to these earlier seasons kind of thing. It's not I don't know, it's not janky in the later seasons kind of thing, but they there's just a lot of like harder cuts and like things like that where they tried to make it a bit more realistic as opposed to like an animated sitcom as opposed to just like what it is now, which I don't really have an accurate description for.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of like nice transitions in between sequences and stuff like that. Whereas like if you look at like later seasons, that would just be like a harsh cut kind of thing, or like a little thought bubble or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, he sort of comes to that realization and then grabs Bart and walks outside, and they all sit there on the lawn and watch nothing together. My last note is Rule of Threes ending, but I can't remember exactly what it's relating to now.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Something about the way that they like ended the fucking show. And now I don't know what it is. Maybe I should have written more of a descriptive note than just the Rule of Threes. But it does happen again.
My last note is just Homer's conscience gets the better of him. That's why he comes outside. And I think he explains that, after the fight, he's going to cut the cable.
That's what it is. So everybody leaves after the fight, and then he gets his wire cutters and climbs up the pole. Bart's like trying to drag him down and protest and everything. Lisa's really proud of him. So he climbs up to the top of the power pole and cuts this one cable, and it's like half the town's electricity. And he's like, oh. So he cuts another one. It's the other half of the town's electricity. He's like, oh, well, third time's a charm. Cuts it, and then the screen goes to like static.
Yep. And then the credits start rolling.
Yeah, which is a nice like visual joke, and once again, Rule of Threes.
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah.
I remembered.
It's all making sense now.
We need 2 brains for this.
Yeah.
His dementia scribbles are now making sense.
Well done.
Let's call this his angry jerk period.
Homer's unfastened the top button on his pants.
No, he's been walking around like that since Thanksgiving.
I'm surprised he just doesn't give it up and go for sweatpants.
He says the crotch wears out too fast.
Yar! That's gonna replace the whale in my nightmares.
Season
It's the kind I like!
Yes, it is. Season 11, episode 3.
You had to examine them for
I was like,
can't see that far anymore. Yes. The episode is titled Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner? Synopsis reads, Homer becomes a food critic for a Springfield newspaper and ends up annoying the restaurant owners of Springfield after he makes negative reviews, just to be mean. Advice he took from fellow critics. Springfield's restaurant owners then attempt to kill Homer by feeding him a poisoned eclair. When Bart learns of the plot, the family saves him, but the owners assault him anyways.
yeah, they do. Yeah, it's like the very last scene of the episode.
Yeah.
As is, pretty much the order of things here. There's never any notes for the fucking season 11 episodes. It's just quotes.
Yeah.
So my first note is when they're shuffling everybody into the bus, or like Skinner's giving the reason for them sending them on the field trip today to remove all traces of asbestos and the word evolution from our school.
Next up, Margaritaville.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still here.
Still here. It just immediately goes back inside.
Yeah. And then I think Skinner says something about like pair up so you don't lose your buddy, essentially.
Yeah.
And then Bart is talking to Milhouse and reminiscing about the last field trip they went on. They lost Uter.
Yeah.
And then Skinner goes, Uter? I don't remember any Uter. Silly name, Uter.
And that does come back later in the episode.
It does.
So then Homer has obviously like decided to be like a chaperone for the field trip for some reason. How did he get off? Oh, that's right. Lisa's like, how did you get off work? And he like, I can't remember exactly what he says, but it just cuts to
I got someone covering for me.
Just cuts to fucking a mop with a bucket on the top of it.
I work hard for the money. So hard for the money. So give me some more money.
Something, come on, give me lots of honey.
Ooh, I like his cut of his jib. Promote that man.
Something about like a smile on his face and a song in his heart.
Yeah, promote him.
Puts him in the office and everything immediately is on fire. Once again, another running joke of just like a fire not starting small. Just immediately everything is a fucking blaze.
Yeah.
But we come to this section of the episode quite early.
Ooh.
Our game shows are a little different from yours. Your shows reward knowledge. We punish ignorance.
So Homer's driving Bart, Lisa, Milhouse, and Nelson. For some reason, Milhouse doesn't have a seatbelt on in the middle. I don't really understand why. And I can't remember what he says that actually, gets him hurt. But he says something. And Nelson fucking smacks him.
Hey, I know how we can have some fun. I spy with my little eye. Something begins with D. Dingus. Douche.
Homer's like, God bless you, Nelson. And then?
God bless you, Nelson Muntz. Hey, I'm no hero. Fuck, what does he say after that? That didn't make any sense to me. I'm no hero. It's just something I like to do.
Close. I'm no hero. I just like to hit people in the head.
Yes, okay.
It's so funny the way that he just like donks him on top of their head. Doesn't actually like punch him or anything. But what do you got?
All right. Okay, this will be like a tougher one, I guess, because there's a few real good quotes. So, if anything appears to be moving,
that's just freshness.
Yeah. That's when Homer's
he's eating at the seafood restaurant.
Yeah. All the other ones you would have got straight away anyway. Damn it.
Hang on. My next note is just Kid in the Treehouse, but I'm trying to remember exactly what that's related to.
I believe that's... Oh, wait. Yeah, that's when they
were... skipping something?
Yeah, there was a little bit between now and then. The Kid in the Treehouse is when they were like...
They're at the paper mill. Yeah.
And the lady says something about... and the percentage of this newspaper is recycled.
There's a certain percentage of these newspapers that are recycled. Lisa's like, how much?
0.
0's a percent.
And then it shoots outside and there's trees on a conveyor belt coming in and getting like ground up, and there's a tree house
with a kid in it. Yeah. Just careening towards a wood chipper.
So after the Nelson scene where he smacks Milhouse on the head, it then goes to Homer basically like swerving in traffic and like swearing and words bleeping and stuff like that. So the episode contains a scene where Homer swears at an ambulance. His swears being intentionally bleeped out. Dan Castellaneta's reading of the lines apparently contained "fuck you" and "god damn."
Oh, okay.
Because I remember you said, "Oh, was that always beeped out?"
Yeah,
definitely.
I don't think all of it was. So I think there's certain parts of it that were bleeped out for comedic effect, and then there's certain extra parts that have been bleeped out, because goddamn, I think was part of it back in the day. I remember him sort of specifically saying that.
Right, okay.
But I think that's been further edited, for Disney purposes kind of thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Apparently heck and goddamn are swear words.
Yes, apparently. It's the world we live in.
My next bit here is another quote. So they've just got to like the newspaper factory or whatever, and they were showing like the origin story of how the newspaper was born, and it was a kid named like Johnny Newspaper Seed or something like that.
Seed. Founded newspapers all across the American Midwest.
Yeah. If he's so smart, how come he's dead?
And she just stands there for like 3 seconds, just like...
Then continues on with what she was doing.
Doesn't even acknowledge it.
And then this one's like a Bart quote. Hey, look, you can print a paper from the day you were born. And then like goes to Homer's birthday and it says unusually large,
ugly baby born. Doesn't realize that it's him, then just continues on.
It's funny that like the birthday theme pops up in a couple of these, like at a couple of parts, either during this episode and possibly the next one as well.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And yeah, I did try and look for like funny events that happened on your birthday.
Yeah.
I couldn't find like a local paper from that time. You got to pay for it. I was like, I'm not doing that.
That's not happening.
So historical events on the 25th of January. The 20th American Music Awards, Michael Jackson and Mariah Carey win. Your Chinese zodiac sign is a rooster. And that's it.
There is like a funny thing you can do.
What a crappy birthday.
And I don't know if either of you have tried it before. You type in your birthday and then Florida Man into Google.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sure, I did do that.
You get something spicy. I think my one was like Florida Man arrested for hanging off traffic lights and shitting onto cars like a bird.
That's mad.
Like there's... In any given day of the year, there is probably some sort of
Florida Man headline.
Yeah. That's like the joke.
What do we got?
It says here, Florida man arrested at Waffle House over bacon controversy.
Bacon controversy.
And then it has like a full detailed thing here. The event took place in Cape Coral, Florida. The Florida man, who was visiting one of the city's most crucial fast food chains, sparked an argument over the way bacon is cooked. The controversy soon disturbed many people in the venue, but the Florida man had no intention of stopping. On Wednesday, Florida's Martin Jose Alvarez, who came to Waffle House, did not like the cooked bacon. Then he started swearing at the employees. You better cook the damn bacon right. He shouted several times. Then he continued to act with racist remarks. There's more if you want to hear it.
I think that's enough.
Yeah.
That pretty well covers it.
You essentially resisted arrest, intimidated by the taser.
So didn't like the way his bacon was cooked and then just started being racist.
Yeah.
Sick.
Sounds like America.
That's great.
So they're continuing on with their tour, and I can't remember exactly. It's just after that scene where she says that there's like 0% recycled material and the kids in the treehouse, and then Homer smells cake.
Yeah.
Cake that says farewell and best wishes. Your old man's got an amazing nose. That's nothing. You can hear pudding.
That's a classic line.
So good.
Yeah.
One of those ones that like always sticks out to you.
Yeah. And then he runs off and finds, like a retirement party for some lady that works there.
She's a food critic, and she's like just dressing down all of the stuff that they brought to the party. I can't remember exactly what she says, but then it cuts from her to Homer absolutely devouring her cake. She walks
Who are you and why are you eating my cake?
I'll have you know I wandered off from the tour. Just continues eating it.
Yeah. And it's funny, like someone being farewelled is occurring at the start of the season 21 episode 2.
It is too, you're right. Once again, one of those fucking through lines.
Yeah.
They've got to be doing it.
And this is when we get one of like the all-time jingles of the Simpsons show that is stuck in.
Shall we do it together?
Yes. And a 1 and a 2 and a
I like pizza. I like bagels. I like hot dogs with mustard and veal.
I'll eat eggplant.
I could even eat a baby deer. La 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 la. Who's the baby deer on the lawn there? So what's like? Is that a song?
Yes. So the song Homer sings upon being given the food critic job is set to the tune of "I Feel Pretty" from the musical West Side Story.
I knew that was familiar. Anger management. Fucking.
Oh yeah.
Adam Sandler through
Nicholson. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Good movie.
It's probably one of the Sandler movies I've watched the least.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
You telling me you've watched Jack and Jill more than once?
Ooh,
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I've watched it zilch.
Zero times.
That's a rough one.
It's Adam Sandler as both of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
It is.
I'm trying to think.
Very bad.
What was the last Adam Sandler movie I watched? The basketball one.
Yeah, Uncut Gems.
No. The basketball one.
Oh, Longest Yard.
The basketball one.
Yeah.
Hustle.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's got that Spanish dude who's actually a basketball player.
Yeah, Uncut Gems.
You're thinking of Big Daddy.
You know, Billy Madison. The Spanish guy. So Homer then gets offered the job of a food critic and sort of cuts from there to him sitting in the kitchen attempting to write his first review. And Marge says, the E in that typewriter doesn't work.
Restaurant review. No. Eatery evaluation. No. Food box. Go or no go. By Homer. No. Earl. No. Bill Simpson.
And then he goes to Earl straight away.
Hilarious.
So fucking dumb. So he writes a terrible fucking review and then goes and hands it into the editor. And the guy's like, this is a joke, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, I can't remember the first line that he says, but he's like,
you make words that don't exist.
You got words that don't exist. You make numerous threatening references to the UN. And at the end, you just write screw Flanders a bunch of times.
There's something about biscotti as well.
Biscotti and, I can't remember what the other word is.
Yeah.
You use made up words like biscotti and something else.
Yeah.
But all those words have E's in them.
They do.
No continuity.
Continuity.
As I like to call it.
So he then employs, that's right. He's goes from there and he's in the bathroom like scrubbing himself. Still not clean. Stench of failure is still on me. And Lisa bangs on the door and she's like, I hope you write your review if you just let me use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Still not clean. She then helps him like punch up his review because she's actually fucking intelligent. Keeps trying to make
translate. Transcendent.
How about groin-grabbingly transcendent?
Just looks at him.
Make a good team. A groin-grabbingly good team.
Yeah, the delivery of that was perfect.
I've never heard that phrase used either before or after that. It's just there.
Yeah.
So, like, just such a fucking, like, nonsensical phrase. But it's like, I don't know. It's one of those things that it's like, that's just perfect to me. It's like nothing else there would be funnier, but I don't even understand how they made it to that.
Yeah.
And then, like, just went, oh, this is literally a one and done. We will never use this phrase again.
Yeah.
And now I'll be interested to see some cunt comment and be like, they used it 3 more times. Fuck you.
Oh, good. And they're following the rule of threes.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And yeah, my next quote is the one that I used for the game show. So this is when Homer's obviously out critiquing different foods, but he's giving everything good reviews instead of like being mean about it, essentially. He's getting feeds from everywhere.
Yeah, and everybody's like walking around heaps fat.
Yeah.
Can't remember what Burns says to him. Says something about like, you know, just like kudos for all the good reviews of all these food places. And as he finishes his sentence, his shin bones collapse. Oh, there go my shin bones again. Again.
Yeah. There must have been a bit where they must be like a food critic, like office type thing, and they see all the random things from movies. So there was like a mug from the Brewsters.
It was like Planet Hollywood, like Springfield or something like that. It's owned by McBain.
Yes. And then there's the Kane from Citizen McCain.
There was no Kane in Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's the script from The Cable Guy. Stupid script. Nearly ruined Jim Carrey's career.
I looked into that to see if that was true. And obviously, The Cable Guy was probably at a time after he'd released like Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, all the absolute classic Carrey movies.
Oh, he was on a fucking streak in the early 90s.
And he was paid $20 million. So at the time, that was the most an actor had ever been paid for a movie. This was for The Cable Guy.
Crazy.
And yeah, it sort of flopped at the box office.
The movie is awful. It is not good.
They made their money back on it, but not much more than that.
Yeah.
And then now it has like a cult following, essentially. So Some people proclaim it to be very funny. And like other people that were on the set, like Matthew Broderick was on the set and said that it was essentially a double-edged sword with the amount of pressure he put on himself by demanding that amount of money for that specific movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I don't know.
It's strange.
Yeah, it's a weird movie. I don't like it, but it definitely has like that weird cult following. But it's like, I also really like Freddy Got Fingered. That movie is so stupid.
Yes.
But it's so funny.
It is great. Neddy, would you like some sausage? I'm the backwoods Ned,
That was one of my. That was like the last clip that I posted on Instagram before they were like, nah, no more.
Maybe that's why you got banned.
Yeah.
Could have been.
Good times.
Actually, hang on. The caption was like Neddy got fingered, so maybe that was it. Maybe we figured it out.
So we don't write in the caption what the video is. Then we can just post whatever we want.
Yes, essentially.
Instagram rules. Logic.
I found the buried treasure. We can live like kings. We can live like kings.
I don't see two LeBarons, Nedwood.
So I think, then home. That's when we get, the scene that you used in the game show.
Yeah.
About the freshness, and then it sort of scans through everybody realizing that Homer's a food critic, and it pans to Skidder, and he's like, "Did you hear? Homer's a critic." Stop stalling. Where is Uta? Oh, we just want closure. Such a fucking dark line.
Extremely.
We just want to know if our kid's dead.
Yeah, we don't care if he is or not. Just tell us.
So, like you said, Homer's been giving everybody good reviews. And then it cuts to him like walking into the offices, and his boss is introducing him to a bunch of the other critics.
Yeah.
And the first guy that he gets introduced to is like a film or TV critic or something like that. Mm-hmm. Homer just grabs him instantly. He's just like, "What? You made them cancel Platypus Man." The boss grabs him. He's like, "Homer, this is our theater critic, Daphne Beaumont." And he like turns around and looks at it for a couple of seconds. It turns back around and grabs the guy again. "And the Cosby Mysteries. It had endless possibilities." Homer.
Still just caught up on that in his brain. Yeah.
I just love the pause where he's just staring at. He doesn't even acknowledge the lady. He's just staring at her for like 2 seconds, then instantly grabs the cut again.
Oh, it's good.
Perfect.
The show The Cosby Mysteries has aged like milk, though.
Oh, I can't imagine. Which is what makes that line even funnier.
You don't want to know the mysteries they got up to.
Oh, no.
The possibilities were not that endless, apparently.
I was about to say, the Cosby Mysteries have kind of been solved.
I was going to go.
It's the kind I like.
Oh, God.
Maddie, no.
Damn it.
Second.
Oh, fuck.
Hello.
Oh, it's a greater tragedy I've never beheld.
A greater tragedy my eyes have never beheld. Well, into the toilet.
That's YouTube after that comment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the third guy looks sort of like Red Barclay.
Yeah, he kind of does. That's right.
He's in like the, what's it called? Gingham? Like the red and white checkered shirt.
Like a lumberjack kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he's parodying like some sort of John Deere product to Dear John.
Yeah, he has some like funny quip about like all the John Deere gear. He's a farm gear critic essentially, which is fucking weird. I don't think that has ever existed ever. But he's talking about how all the John Deere stuff is green, which it always has been, and says that somebody needs to send John Deere a Dear John, and Homer just starts like laughing. He's like,
"You don't have to patronize me."
Okay. So they sort of give him like a talk, a dressing down essentially, that he's like way too positive about everything and that he can like be negative if he wants to. So he takes that on board. It's, I now need to be negative with everything. So I can't remember where he's eating, but he's eating pea soup and Krusty's performing King Lear.
Yeah, he's eating at Luigi's restaurant.
Yes, that's right.
And I think this was the first time we've seen Luigi since the very first episode we did, which was Lard of the Dance for season 10.
Oh, yeah.
Here comes a grease ball.
Hey, Luigi bringing you kids a free pizza. But he's not at Luigi's yet. He's at that, whatever that we've also covered this episode. It's the bodyguard episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where he's like, you're not mad at me, are you?
Yeah.
That one.
The one with Mark Hamill?
Yes, that one. I don't remember what that. It's like a dinner show, like theater place kind of thing. So he's there with Lisa and Krusty's giving a terrible fucking performance. I can't remember any of like the jokes that he's making or anything like that. But then it does one of those newspaper spins after it to sort of show that Homer's given a bad review, and then it's got in like the bottom right hand corner, Krusty worst King Lear in 40 years. Or one line from it that I do remember because he's trying to like
seeing if there's any funny scenes.
He says something about like why no one's laughing. He's like, it's supposed to be a comedy, and the guy like whispers in his ear and he's like, it's not.
Yeah.
And he tries to like bump it up a little bit, and everyone's booing him because he's just doing a terrible fucking job, and he's like, wow, they're booing Shakespeare.
Tough crowd.
Yeah.
And
so is it straight after that then Lisa sort of gets a back up about him trying to make her write everything negative, and she quits on him?
Yeah. And then he says, like, I'll never get my comeuppance. No comeuppance. We'll be right back.
People will think what you tell them to... People will think what
I tell them to think.
Oh, sorry, that's mistyped on my part. People will think what I tell them to think when you tell me to tell them what to think, is what he says to Lisa.
Yeah. That hurts.
Yes.
And then he delivers the comeuppance lines.
Yes.
And then looks at the TV, says, we'll be right back.
Yeah, a little fourth wall joke there for a second.
Yeah.
So it cuts from there to the seafood restaurant, and it's closed for the night because all the restaurant owners are having a meeting as to, like, you know, why Homer's being so negative towards them.
Yep.
I can't remember who that guy is at the end of the table because they're trying to talk about poisoning him. I think we're going to have to try a little harder than that. I've seen this man eat a bowl of change.
It's strange as well. Like Akira is in yet another episode so close together.
Yeah, quite frequently. And it's weird also that he's just instantly turned on Homer as well, because he's like been shown to be quite friendly towards Homer in every other like instance that he's like they're on like a first name basis on the Mr. Sparkle episode, for instance.
Yeah.
But I feel like they probably just needed it because he's the only Japanese restaurant owner in town.
Yeah.
So they then conspire with this French guy to make this like poison pastry or something like that. Or they say it's got like heaps of...
1 million calories.
Yeah. And then at the end of it, he's just like, end up with poison in it too.
Yeah. I looked up if 1 million calories would actually kill you, like if you were to have it in one sitting. Like it's not plausible to be done just because of the amount of food you'd have to eat. So it's proportionate to about 400 to 500 days worth of food is 1 million calories.
No, you just drink petrol.
Okay.
So yeah, do we go straight from there to the food fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the best quotes of the whole episode is pretty much straight away. So Marge says something about, oh, homie, my women's intuition is acting up. I feel like something bad's going to happen if you go in there. He goes, oh, Marge, something bad usually happens to me when I go in anywhere.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He steps in a puddle, gets hit by a frisbee, and bitten by a bat.
Bat bites him on the back of the neck, and he's like, oh, that's a new one.
Oh.
Then Lisa walks past him and says that she's doing a review for like the school fair or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we get like a little bit of a montage of the French guy making the pastry.
Yeah.
He like puts all the pipes into it. One's like butter, one's poison, and then he puts a third one in and it says like antidote. He's standing there for a couple of seconds. He's like, pulls it out. So then Homer's sort of walking around, and then there's like a little bit of back and forth between the sea captain and Akira where they're talking about like just sort of like waiting for him.
Lard ho.
Yeah. They're waiting for him to get up to the pastry.
Yep.
And I think Sea Captain says something about like, why is he still wearing jeans?
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's not wearing sweatpants.
Yeah.
Kira's like, he says the crotch wears out the tooth first.
Oh, yar, that'll replace the whale in me nightmares.
So he's sort of stumbling around. Oh, no, that's right. They're having that conversation about like how they're, planning to kill him, and Bart overhears it and laughs and then realizes they're talking about Homer, so he goes to find everybody. Then Homer's sort of stumbling around. His belly button turns from an innie to an outie.
And it's like a sort of a C looking belly button.
Yeah.
It's like the letter C, and then it's an outie, and it looks like just a backward C.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Bart goes and gathers the family. Then they all split up to different sections of the food festival to try and find Homer. And the French guy sort of spots him coming and he's like locking eyes with him. And then Flanders gets in the way and he's like looking at it. He just pushes him out of the way. Well, a rude Frenchman. I never.
Yeah, there's only a few other little bits after this. So Homer's...
I don't actually have anything else written down, but it's pretty much the end of the episode anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Homer's walking towards the eclair and he's about to take a bite and Lisa's trying to get him to stop because she's not going to make it there in time.
Says that it'll kill him and all these couple of things. And he's just like, I've had a good run.
Yeah. And then she's like, it's low fat.
Throws it
into one of, I think it was Mole Man's pot.
Mole Man's gruel. Is his stand and it lands on it. Then everybody runs up and Wickham's like, thank God it landed in this already smoking crater.
Take him into custody, boys.
Yeah.
It's like another unintentional analogy by Wiggum.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Then they like him and Lou and Eddie all sort of have this like little back and forth about what they're going to get at the festival. Lou's like, I'm going to get some frittatas. Lou and his frittatas. And they're making fun of him. The French guy just takes the handcuffs off and fucking runs away.
Yeah. That's great.
Is that the... Oh, no, it's not the end of the episode. That's right. We already spoke about the end of the episode. So, yeah, then we get like a little bit of a nice like scene, you know, like a coming back together of Lisa and Homer. And then as they're having that conversation, all of the restaurant owners sort of group up around them, like just brandishing weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there's that like sort of panning out scene where they're walking away and they're all fucking running up behind them, having the conversation like, Dad, yeah, I know. Just start running.
Yeah.
And then that's the end. It just fades to black while he's obviously getting the shit kicked out of him by everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's it.
Make it up to you, Marge, I swear.
Last night was the making it up to me. The most intimate moment we shared this week was my ironing your shirts.
Actually, those were Carl's shirts.
Oh, I can't believe you're gonna spend another weekend with him.
Hey, it's not like I want to go. Go, go, go! Are you ready to laugh? Oh, that poor dog.
This episode is actually all right.
Yeah, I was about to say somewhat.
This one is titled, season 21, episode 5, The Devil Wears Nada. Synopsis reads, Marge becomes a sex symbol after pin-up pictures of her appear on a calendar. Meanwhile, Carl is chosen as the Springfield nuclear plant's newest supervisor, and Homer gets hired as Carl's assistant. Homer is quickly exhausted by his work and is unable to be with Marge, whose libido has increased because of the calendar shoot. When Homer and Carl go to Paris on business, an angry Marge accidentally hurts Ned, so she invites him over for dinner. When Carl flirts with a woman in Paris, Homer blackmails him to get his old job back. Meanwhile, Marge is tempted to kiss Ned at dinner until she sees her wedding photo and stops herself. It is partly based on the film The Devil Wears Prada, especially the scenes that feature an overworked and overutilized Homer.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering why they chose that title.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is why. And then, yeah, the first note that I have was there was someone getting farewelled at the power plant.
A guy called Ted.
Ted. Leaving?
I don't care.
Who the fuck is that guy?
But again, yeah, that we touched on it before, the through line of farewelling someone from a workplace.
So yeah, he's quitting to, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's retiring kind of thing. And then it becomes apparent that they need to replace him as supervisor.
Yeah.
So it's Homer, Lenny, and Carl walking through the halls kind of thing. And then they both have...
They all get stopped by Burns and Smithers.
Yes. And they all have that simultaneous like thought bubble thing of them driving Mini Coopers through the nuclear power plant. Which
Can't we supervise ourselves?
Which is an Italian job reference.
Yeah. I liked it because it was sort of paid homage to Hit and Run in a way, like driving through the power plant. And it also looked like a cross between Hit and Run and what I've seen of Rocket League.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that.
Like the car, like flipping and exploding and shit everywhere.
I wonder if that's what they were going for as well.
Maybe.
3 references in one.
Yes. This is when they all get stopped in the hallway and Burns says to them, all right, I've got to make a new supervisor for this role because of Ted leaving. And then he's like, who out of these 3 am I going to choose? And they look at Homer and he's just sort of standing there with his mouth open and a fly goes into his mouth and then comes back out his nose.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very good.
It goes to Lenny, he's drinking a beer, and then realizes they're looking at him, and he puts it down his pants upside down, so it looks like he's pissed himself.
That's right, because they're like, oh yeah, now that the supervisor's gone, we can put whatever we want in the vending machine. And that's where he gets the beer from.
Oh no, they said that like Ted was cool with them doing that. That's why they liked him. And then it cuts to Carl, and he like slightly screws in a light bulb a little bit more than what it is to make it work. So they're instantly like, oh well, this guy's responsible, so he's the new supervisor.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole scene was quite good.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad because then Carl sort of like walks away after he says something like instantly like alluding to him like doing more work than what he usually does.
But I'm your supervisor first.
Yeah, and then he says that they'll go to Moe's and celebrate in the first rounds on him kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he walks away and Homer says something about like, oh, he hasn't changed at all. And then his voice comes through the loudspeaker and he says, yes, I have, in ways you're only beginning to expect.
There was also another good thing when Burnsy does choose Carl, he gives him the key to the executive washroom.
Oh, yeah, that's right. When it's got like the big mirror in it.
Yeah, and he sees himself in it and he looks like, I don't know, upper class,
yeah,
I suppose. But we haven't seen the executive washroom be referenced since the Demoxenil episode.
Yeah, you're right. We haven't.
I like it.
It's the kind I like.
I was waiting for that.
Where's the let's go shopping?
Not on there.
Not on there.
No.
No.
I'll have to insert it in post.
I put it there.
I didn't.
And then the next scene that I've got noted is like Uda is mentioned in this episode because he appears briefly in Bart's treehouse when they're like eating something.
Yeah, it was real weird. My note for that is Milhouse's mother is at the party, but he isn't. Press the button, Matt.
I don't care.
Nope.
No, it doesn't.
Nope.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Rule of threes. Yeah, it was fucking weird to me, especially because like, what's her name? Luann Van Houten is like sort of like sitting directly next to Marge. So it's like, okay, Milhouse's mum is there. Then it cuts up to the treehouse and it's Martin and Uda.
Yep.
Two kids that Bart would never fucking hang out with outside of school. It's very fucking strange.
And like Uda's eating something and it causes him to gain more weight and falls
through the treehouse.
Yeah. And yeah, it goes back to the wives all sitting there. I assume it's like Dr. Hibbert's wife.
Yeah.
Whatever her name is. Agnes,
Luann.
Luann.
Yeah,
Marge,
and then some other like unnamed people who are obviously like Martin and Martin's mum is there as well.
Yeah, right, okay. Martina.
So they're talking about, what are they talking about? Like fundraising or something like that? Or they're just talking about the calendar in general?
Yeah, so there was like some sort of photo shoot with all the husbands of Springfield in this calendar, and then Marge has the idea of, hey, why don't we do a calendar for some sort of charity? And she's trying to come up with a theme for the poster, and she looks onto the coffee table next to her and it says A History of Genocide.
Yeah. She's like, why don't we do history?
Yeah. That was quite a good visual gag.
Yeah.
Like makes you think about it. Like a kid wouldn't understand that, but
yeah,
adults do.
100%.
And then Agnes then says, we'll do it on the 25th of Wiggum.
Oh, she's like disgusted because she pulls up the calendar and it's got like a picture of like Wiggum in barely any clothes. She's like, we'll do it on the 25th of Wiggum.
Yes. And it was weird because we both looked at each other and went, hey, tomorrow's the 25th.
Tomorrow's the 25th.
Yeah. And I was like, surely that's got to be January, Wiggum's one, because it is at the start of the calendar.
Yeah, you're right. It is too.
There was a lot of weird like birthday things that popped up.
Yeah, specifically yesterday, even like the first episode of Family Guy we watched, we both sat down, like press play, and the first scene was Peter talking about it being excited for his birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're like, what?
Yeah.
Real life through line.
Yeah. It's just following us around at this point in time.
It's the kind I like.
So is it straight from there to... No, it's not straight from there to shopping center. So it's from there to the photo shoot?
Yeah, so Marge is dressed as like a 18th century Tiger Woods.
No, she's dressed as like... I think it's like a takeoff of Babe Ruth.
But she's got golf clubs.
18th century? What?
Yeah. So I know she's a female Tiger Woods. That's what she says.
I thought she was a baseball player.
No, she's got golf clubs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know who the fuck she is then.
She did say Tiger Woods.
Did she?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like a real old-timey get-up.
Well, I don't know what the fuck was happening then.
Yeah. There was one other note that I had when they were coming up with the idea to make the sexy calendar or whatever. So the episode aired soon after the character Marge had appeared on the cover of the real-life Playboy mag.
Oh, okay.
So for whatever reason, she had that, and then they had the idea of this storyline a year before she featured in Playboy magazine.
Okay.
But they thought, hey, we'll release it just after Marge is in the actual magazine.
Wait, did
Makes
they,
sense.
fully draw her into Playboy and everything? Like
Must have.
how Playboy's models are shot? Like, did they actually do that?
I'm not sure.
I was going to look.
And we never did.
I would look that up. I don't want that in my internet history, though.
All right. McVeigh
I'll
or
do
Boardman,
it.
can you do it?
Wonder if that guy's dad can look it up for us.
From beyond the grave.
Ooh, Simpsons porn from beyond the grave.
Marge puss.
Marge Berthel.
What does Marge's bush really look like? Do the carpet match the drapes?
This isn't a very happy birthday for Ned Banner.
I'll find you a beer, Baron.
Oh, you
Second.
won't. Yes, I will.
You calling me a biter?
So we've made fun of everyone who's ever commented on the show.
Pretty much. And everyone who ever will.
Yeah.
We love you. Please do it more.
If you want to be made fun of, please reach out.
So they get Marge drunk and essentially like take a bunch of racy photos, and then I assume it was obviously the plan for like everybody to like take a month in the calendar, but they then just use all of Marge's photos for the entire thing.
Yeah.
And she drags everybody to the mall to try and show them because she doesn't actually remember what happened.
Yep.
But we get a good quote of Bart not wanting to be there, and he says, "When you're old, I'm going to drag you around and buy you clothes." She's like, "That's wonderful," and he's like, "Oh."
Backfires immediately.
Yeah.
Has no idea what he's actually saying.
Exactly. He's just trying to say something to hurt her.
Yeah. And yeah, Marge sees the calendar. Everyone's sort of crowded around the store selling them for whatever reason. Oh, obviously, there's a reason, but like, who would crowd around for a calendar of raunchy photos when you can do that in the comfort of your own home?
We then get one of those like typical season 2021 scenes of like just an overextended joke that's not really fucking funny of Cletus like flipping through a bunch of the pages and putting Marge's angry head over her body kind of thing.
Yeah, because he asks her are you going to undress?
Yeah.
And she clearly isn't going to. So he just holds the calendar up in front of her.
Yeah, and it goes on for like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It started to annoy me after a little bit, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Come on, get the fuck on with it.
Yeah.
So it cuts from there, and they're like pulling up to church. Did you notice the sign?
No.
The sign literally just says today's topic, Marge.
Wow.
So imagine turning up to church and seeing that. It's just like, oh, we're going to talk about me today. That's fucking great.
What Marge did.
So I was like kind of thrown off a little bit as well because she gets out of the car and everybody's like, you know, sort of got the calendars and excited to see her. And I think somebody wants a signature or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure how the fuck this next note relates to any of it. So what have you got?
So like my two notes in between Marge seeing the calendar and what I think we're up to is Homer is now Carl's assistant. And then my other one is Burns looks disgusting. Something weird about his eyes. So there must have been a scene where they like congregated outside of the church maybe. And Burns has some like small speaking role, but they've done something weird to his face. Like maybe drew lines under his eyes, but they were like too round. And it just made him look even more alien-like.
Screenshot would be perfect right now.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
We will put that up.
And we never did.
I don't remember Burns speaking at all in that scene.
It's horrifying.
So, yeah, I've just completely like blocked it out, or maybe I was writing a note at that point in time.
Perhaps.
But what happens after that? Is it then the scene in school?
No, there's two notes I have in between that. So this is when Marge and Homer are back in bed and there's like a dream sequence, as we like to call it, as it likes to be called.
Yep.
Of like Marge's libido is this massive like carrier ship, like the SS Libido.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Homer, and all he's thinking about is work. So his libido is just like a little guy in like a tinny, essentially.
It says "Not tonight, dear" on the side of it.
Yeah, and it throws him off the boat. He throws himself off the boat once he wraps the motor of the boat around his neck.
Wraps the cord, the rip cord around his neck so he can kill himself.
And the voice is of the dude that says, "Let's get him, fellas."
Yeah, that like wimpy old guy voice. So yeah, like I think Homer then falls asleep while they're like making out. So she like tucks him into bed and says tomorrow night or something like that.
Yeah.
Then the scene at the school.
Yeah, Marge tries one more time to get his attention by like opening up her shirt, and all that Homer sees is Carl as both of Marge's tits. And then she's sort of dejected about not being able to get it on with Homer.
Yeah, because he's all just like psychologically fucked up from having to deal with Carl all of the time.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a Dumb and Dumber reference?
Yeah,
like
true.
a Jim Carrey through line?
Yeah, it could be.
Mm.
So that's when he falls asleep while he's driving, right? And
Yeah.
the headlights are flashing.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Great movie. Fucking love that movie.
Tremendous. Groin-grabbingly tremendous. Yeah, the next scene is what you were discussing. So Bart stands up for himself.
Yeah, but my note relating to that is Bart and Nelson and Milhouse are sort of making fun of Bart about Marge
mum.
being in the calendar.
Yeah.
Shoots Milhouse in the face with a slingshot, and then Nelson says something else. So he like jumps up and actually starts like beating Nelson up.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to Chalmers and Skinner in the office with Bart, and they say something about him standing up to himself with an older boy.
Yeah.
So my note relating to that is Nelson older, but he's in the same class? Like, did he repeat? And is that why he's friends with the older bullies? Because like the bullies are obviously like Jimbo, Kearney, and Dolph are obviously like portrayed as older, or in like the 6th grade or something like that.
Yeah, true.
So I wonder if Nelson has like repeated for a couple of years because he's that fucking stupid.
Yeah, his age is never mentioned, so...
That's the only time it's ever really alluded to that he's older than the rest of the crew.
Yeah, definitely in appearance, he looks quite older than Bart does. So
he's also like he's drawn as significantly like bigger than everyone else. The only like group that he fits in with are those older bullies, and even then, he's the smaller one out of them.
Yeah,
but
true. It's probably just implied that he is slightly older, therefore dumb.
Yeah, and has had to repeat like once or twice, kind of thing.
Yeah. This is when my next note is they go back to the Simpsons house, and Homer
Homer and Marge are trying to get it on again.
Oh yeah, that's great. He like suggests going to this retreat type thing, and then Marge says, "Oh, why don't we play this like?"
Oh, that's right. They're at the retreat.
Yeah,
yeah.
Marge is like, "All right, let's play this sex game." I can't remember exactly what she called it.
She's got dice,
and each side of the dice has like a
body part and an action.
Yeah, and the first one, Homer rolls lick eyes. The second one, I couldn't remember, so I wrote tickle hair.
No, it was spank hair.
Spank hair. And then the next roll of the dice, the rule of threes, whisper into ass. Oh,
that made me laugh. I was like, that's fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, this was like, I think I have a note about it later, but the most sexualized Simpsons episode I'd ever seen.
Okay, so we'll just sort of scroll through because the next couple of notes are like, it's the symptom of the season 20 episodes. They have like a decent first 10 to 12 minutes of like establishing a plot and side stories and stuff. And then they spend the last 8 minutes just quickly resolving all of it in a not very satisfying way.
Yeah.
So during that like retreat, Homer gets a call from Carl and answers it. And turns out they're going to Paris for some like nuclear fission week or something like that.
Yeah.
So they go, and Homer's like essentially just like actually being a good assistant and giving Carl all of this information. There's like a weird scene where he does a sexy dance for this lady that Carl's trying to bang.
Yeah.
And then that
is...
Also, I'm skipping a little bit ahead. So after he's like just left for the he's gotten in the taxi and left to go to the airport, she picks up like a croquet mallet.
Yeah, Marge does.
Throws it, and that's when it hits Flanders, and she
Yeah.
checks that he's okay, invites him over for dinner and stuff like that.
Yeah. There was also, like, my note is Flanders recovering from getting hit in the head by croquet mallet. Says fucked up stuff to kids about putting rocks in their pockets and taking them out to sea before letting their cousins take care of them.
My next note is Flanders said he would kill his kids before they are raised by his gay brother. Because Todd says something like, Daddy, if you died, would our crazy uncle like Jeff or something? And no, Uncle Jeff and his special friend somebody raise us, which is what a Christian parent would tell their kids about their brother. Just his special friend. It's not his gay lover.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like very full on for a kid's show.
Oh, yeah, it just came out of absolutely nowhere. Yeah, a Christian dad saying he would murder his children before they're raised by a gay godfather or something like that. It's fucking intense. And it's just like, that's, that joke in itself is sort of what like flipped this episode from like one of the average ones to one of the better ones, because it's like, okay, that's just a bang throwaway joke. Like that's dark as fuck. And then they just move on instantly.
Yeah, I've noticed like all the jokes that we've really enjoyed from these later season episodes have been quite dark in the humor they've used.
Yes.
Yeah, which is what has brought us back into concentrating more on the episode and being hopeful, I suppose, for the future.
Yeah. So is it then we go back to Paris and Homer's sort of walking around having that visualization scene where he's seeing Marge and everything?
Yeah, so this is when Homer has to feed Carl all those lines about things that are in Paris. And and Carl is talking to, I think
No, this is after that. They're walking through the street, remember?
Yeah.
They're walking through the street and they say, Carl says he likes everything about Paris except for their shitty version of rock and roll, and there's some weird like French rock band there.
Yeah, that happens after the note that I had.
Okay.
So yeah, Homer's feeding lines to Carl to, I think it's, what would you call it? The mayor of the town's wife.
No, it's like the
what would you call it?
I think it turns out to be the president.
Like the prime minister, for lack of a better term's wife. And she's like swooning over Carl because he knows so much about Paris. And unlike other high-ranking politicians such as Tony Blair, who have guest starred on The Simpsons, the couple did not actually lend their voices to the show, and the appearances were made without their permission. The France press wrote that as a result, it was a harsher parody in comparison to the parodies of the show of people that have provided their own voices. The French newspaper Le Figaro said she was characterized as a nymphomaniac with an exaggerated French accent. Bruni had previously attracted media attention in the United States because of her many reported partners and lovers. A reporter for the Times in Paris wrote that her sulfurous former image as the girlfriend of rock stars and celebrities was mocked. So that's why they had that scene afterwards of like Homer and Carl walking away and then seeing that lame French rock band.
Okay,
So
that
they
makes
were
sense.
intentionally making fun of this lady. I can't remember what her name was, but
Yeah, neither can I.
They
brunette.
just like went really in on her then. Like
for no apparent reason.
And
it's very uncharacteristic of The Simpsons.
Yeah,
you know?
I was going to say that. They're usually like quite nice about their parodies.
Pretty softball with the parodies generally.
Not particularly. They do go in on people, but they go in on people that seemingly deserve it. Like, I don't even know this lady's name. So, can't done anything that bad.
Yeah, well, her last name was Bruni. I can't remember what her first name was. Lady.
And we never did.
And then, yeah, my note after that specific scene was Carl was then saying goodbye to her as she was getting into a taxi after they'd seen that French rock band playing terrible music.
No. So, I don't know where you're getting the taxi from, but so they're walking through the street and Homer's holding an umbrella over the top of Carl. And he says something about we're going to extend our stay indefinitely. And Homer's all pissed off about that. Also, no, sorry, I'm skipping a little bit ahead. He's talking about how much he loves about Paris, everything he loves about Paris. And he says that he hates the shitty rock bands. Cuts of those cunts playing under the gazebo. Another gazebo. What's with you she-males? How many gazebos you she-males need? Then it cuts back to him and he says that he wants to stay in Paris indefinitely. Homer's all distraught about that. Then the lady turns up on a moped and says, let's ride down street Euro Disney or something like that. They ride off on the moped and the rock band follows him down the road.
Yeah, right.
And that's when he walks sadly around the streets of Paris and sees Marge as...
There's like a windmill and she's one face and then all the other blades are hair.
Yep.
Yep.
And I can't remember because that's the second thing, but he sees her as something originally first. It's like a street sign or something like that.
There's a real good use of visual props here.
That he's on top of a building and there's a gargoyle next to him and it turns into Mo.
It was perfect because they set it up to be that real like
it's gonna
icebreaker,
like it's gonna be Marge again, like it's gonna be this real nice, I see her and everything, and it's just Mo perched on top of a fucking building.
Yeah, that was perfect. And then, my next note is Marge and Ned end up having dinner together.
My last note for the episode, which is where we can nearly wrap it up here, is like this episode is weird, which is the point that you made before about this is like one of the most like hypersexualized episodes of The Simpsons I've seen in like maybe ever, if not a very long time.
Yeah. And that's essentially what I've got. So to set the scene for Marge and Ned nearly kissing is they're preparing dinner. And like, obviously Homer would never do that kind of thing for Marge. And she passes Ned like an iceberg lettuce to cut up and she washes it in front of him and it splashes him and it sort of makes his shirt sink into his chest a little bit. And you can see like the outline of a nice ripped body.
Yeah, like how ripped he is and a crucifix and stuff.
Yeah. And they sort of lean in to kiss there and then something interrupts that.
The oven goes off.
That's it. And then when they do sit down and have dinner, it cuts to the end of dinner. And then Ned asks, what's for dessert? Marge brings strawberries and cream out.
Yeah, which is, just a hypersexualized food.
Aphrodisiac
Yeah.
attributed thing. They nearly kiss again. And then she sees their wedding photo in a reflection somewhere.
Yes.
And then that stops it. They go out the front and then they're hugging goodbye. And then Homer rocks back up. And this is where I thought it got real odd.
Very fucking strange.
Homer is finally back home after realizing he wants to be with Marge all this time and then drops his bags when he sees Ned and Marge hugging. And then you think he's about to like run over and say something ridiculous to Flanders and overreact to what's actually happening, but he just doesn't. He just lets it go.
Yeah, he literally just like, it's one of those things is like he makes a very like rational conclusion of like, no, Marge wouldn't cheat on me with this like,
hunk.
Yeah, essentially, which is all like a strange rationalization for him to make.
This large schlonged individual.
Star wipe and we're out. This Cadillac of man. So then he just walks up and then there's like a little weird back and forth between him and Flanders and he takes Marge inside and they go upstairs.
Yep.
And bang.
Yes.
And then what the fuck happens at the end? Because it was one of the only like not nice, but like sort of satisfying conclusions.
Yeah, well, like
to a season 20 episode that I've seen.
I think they run up the stairs and then it flashes forward to like all their clothes are off and they're laying in bed after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember exactly what they said either, but it's sort of
Oh, I see. Then everything is wrapped up in a neat little package.
Pretty much.
And my last note was something that happened when like they were reviewing the episode after the fact. In regards to Marge's explicit plotline in the episode, our Gene commented that the Simpsons staff is always a bit nervous when we push the boundaries or do something unusual. And I usually think that that's where we do our best stuff. And this episode is definitely one of those cases. And then my thought process after that was maybe they should always push the boundaries now, considering they're creating a clearly inferior product to what they used to. What's the harm in just seeing how far they can go week to week without getting cancelled? What's the point in making a show that has strayed so far from where it began and who it appealed to? Kids and teenagers aren't watching the show anymore, and I doubt many adults that watch from the beginning watch the new episodes.
Yeah, you're right. It makes no sense to just like continuously play it safe to try and...
Yeah, who are they appealing to?
No one.
Exactly. Like they're obviously competing with some much higher form of dark comedy, which is Family Guy, which is funnier to me now watching it back.
Yeah.
And it sort of like dulls what The Simpsons do now that we're watching Simpsons week to week.
Yes.
Putting in Family Guy in between is now like, I don't know, numbed me to an extent.
To a degree, like I said, it takes away from like the season 2 and the season 21 episodes, because the season 21 episodes are trying to compete with it. And the season 2 episodes didn't have anything to compete with, therefore they didn't have to like try as hard to be funny.
Yeah.
Season 11 still stands on its own kind of thing. It's funny in its own like beautiful fucking way. Just the timing of everything and the actual like the way jokes are delivered, the way the jokes are veiled.
Yeah.
Like background gags, just like there's a million different things that go into why that like those couple of years are the perfect comedy product for like literally everybody. It's like you could sit down and show that to most people who have a good sense of humor and they're like, this is funny, kind of thing, where it's like you could show Family Guy to everybody and some people are going to be offended by it 100% because there is some pretty fucking offensive things in there.
Oh, there's some super fucking racist jokes in Family Guy.
But
it's
it
like
is-
if you're thin-skinned like that, then you just can't take it.
Yeah,
like,
it's not for you.
I get it,
Yeah.
for sure. Like,
yeah,
some of it is pretty fucked.
But you just have to like, if you know, you got to understand that everything's a fucking joke.
Exactly.
Jokes are meant to just be nonsensical things that aren't realistic situations. And even if you are the one person that realistic situation has happened to, just laugh about the fact that somebody coincidentally thought of that.
Yeah.
Instead of going, this person specifically targeted me.
Yeah, that's it. And like the jokes that are delivered aren't generally aimed at one person in particular unless they name that person.
Except for the jokes that we made that were specifically aimed at one person.
Maybe we should cut that.
Nah, he won't listen. It was just the most random cunt of all time. He's clearly infatuated with the show. Noticeably FAT.
You can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, never Instagram, and nowhere else. Now that I think about it.
Go on, Ned.
We'll speak to you guys next week.
Back to dial-up.
That was my brain today.
You're not mad at me, are you?
So we asked ourselves, who's behind the badge? Police cops? Police cops.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about that is